Hi, good morning, everyone. Let's see if we can get rid of that. All right, there we go. Hi.
Good morning.
Morning. My apologies for being a little bit late today. Don't ask. It's not what you think. Actually, it is what you think. I just slept in and missed my alarm. I'm sorry. Anyhow, good morning. All right, so we are in the middle of basically halfway through our course with Shantideva. And the last class, we spent a lot of time on introducing the idea of what does it mean to have effort? What does it mean to have a kind of spiritual effort? You know, when we're faced with difficulties, when we're faced with the harder things in life, how do we put the effort in? Right? You know, so when we were talking about joyful effort, the fourth perfection, you know, if for us it's kind of a bridge. And if you remember, it's a bridge between two different kinds of causes. The causes to transform your physical world, to transform your physical world into, let's call it, a perfect paradise world. And then those are the first three perfections: generosity, ethics, patience. And then the other two perfections, meditation and wisdom, mainly are the causes to create your perfected mind. And so, right in the between those two primary causes is this idea of joyful effort. How does one make efforts in spiritual activities, I guess, right? So one would be the spiritual activity of like creating your perfect outer world. Let's just call it the perfect outer world and the perfect inner world. And then, you know, Shantideva has a specific idea around this, that it's not just taking effort, it's not just not working hard, and it's not just about being happy, right? It's also like, how do you face the hardships of life? How do you face when things get difficult, how do you handle it? You know, and a lot of times, you know, at least me, I don't know about you, but when I have difficult times, like I have a whole range of emotions, right? I have the whole, sometimes when bad things happen, I'm like, okay, this is just a seed ripening. But frankly, to be honest, it's not mostly like that. You know, it's mostly like a whole barrage of negative emotions, which are also related to the things that I didn't want. So not only did something happen that I didn't like or I didn't enjoy, it also turned into a whole series of emotions as well, a whole series of internal reactions, which then could become external reactions. Right. And you can watch yourself. It's kind of fun well, it's fun in some way. You could watch yourself do all of those things. But how do you turn that, even the reactions to the difficulties into a spiritual practice? And that whole class was about, how do I say this? Our whole last class was mainly about the obstacles to having that particular joy, right? And some of those obstacles were just plain old laziness. They're just not wanting to do it, taking pleasures in the little things of life. And really, it's dangerous in some ways, because when you're not feeling well, what do you want? You just want to feel good. I think I do anyway. And so then you try to do things that make you feel good. Right. And some of those things are more beneficial than others. What's going to ultimately make you feel better are your seeds. And so your seeds of serving other people will need to ripen. And so in order to get those seeds to ripen, maybe you need to start that cycle again, which is hard to do when you've fallen into despair, right? The story of our lives, right? It becomes like a cycle. And Shanti Davis is like, all right, well, how do we continue to do good in the face of difficulty? That's the good question. The things that the lamas always say, like the high teachers will always say, oh, you're having a bad day? Go serve somebody. Well, I don't feel like it, Lama. I feel like going home and curling up on the couch and eating ice cream. Okay. Go curl up on the couch, eat ice cream, then go serve somebody. You could wallow in your self-misery for a little bit. But then what does the wallowing create? Right? It creates more wallowing. It creates more. And but once we're in it, it's difficult to get out. And I've seen people go through these cycles, and I go through these cycles at times too. So I know this is why I'm like, oh, I wonder why I have to teach this course this time. Right? When you're a teacher, you always wonder, like, why is this content coming up? And some of it's a warning and some of it is just an inspiration to do different. So Shantideva goes on to describe several kinds of effort. Because a joyful effort is one, it's just like, oh, do good, take joy in good things. Oh, yay. Thanks, Shantideva. Right? When you're trying to figure out what you should do, when you're trying to figure out how do you engage it, right? He gives us 4 kinds of examples. So here we go with the first example. And he calls this the warrior effort. I'll give you guys a little bit of a warrior here. Right, there we go. All right. Excuse me. He calls this the armor effort. Right. The ways to transform yourself into a bodhisattvic warrior. Oh, there we go. Everyone came back. Where you put on this armor. We call it the Geshe Sundru. Where you put this on to protect your good seeds, where you protect your, you protect your joyful effort. You protect your capacity to continue to practice. So in sutra, we call this, this is avoiding being discouraged. Okay. Avoiding letting the difficulties and the challenges of life affect you on your path. So, and then in the higher teachings, we have another gocha as well, where you protect there's a way to protect your good seeds. A visualization that you protect all the good seeds you develop, so outside influences don't hurt you, and also inner influences don't hurt you as well. And we'll learn about that a little bit later. So this is just more like protection. How do you protect your joyful effort? Is by never becoming discouraged. It's like, okay, thanks. I mean, part of me is like, thanks, Shantideva. Like, oh, but on the other hand, it's like, how do you plant the seeds to never become discouraged? How do you keep moving forward? I think that's a big question for many of us. How do I keep moving forward? How do I keep moving forward in face of difficulties? Is life always just going to be this way? Ups and downs, happy, sad, tired, not tired, hungry, not hungry, then hungry again. Upset, not upset, upset again. Is it just these silly cycles, or is there something else? And I think most of us as practitioners go through this, where it's like, is this working? Is this working? And those kind of questions can bring up a level of discouragement. But Shantideva kind of tries to inspire us to not become discouraged, even when it gets difficult. When it gets difficult, it's showing you how your practice is working. And that's a hard thing to stomach, I think, sometimes. And so the second type of effort he calls working effort. It's where it's like plain old donkey effort. And these are not donkeys, but it's kind of the same thing. Where you just work to keep collecting merit and wisdom, collecting the seeds of wisdom and collecting the seeds of merit, doing good deeds to create all of those things, to create the body of the Buddha, your paradise, not just your body, but the whole external part as well. And then the emptiness, to work with the emptiness of the mind to create a mind that has a capacity to see all things simultaneously. So that's the second kind of effort. The first one is to protect yourself to keep going. The second kind of effort is just, we say in English, jackass persistence. Just be a donkey. Just keep planting the seeds. All right. And so how do you keep doing that? This is another time that this has come up. And they call it hlerlangwa, which is engaged effort. All right, for $100, explain this picture to me.
To get something back?
Okay, yes. But that's not worth the $100 though.
To get back the awareness?
That's worth $50. Christian got the second part. You both get 50. Send me your. Oh wait, actually nope. Sandra got it in before Christian did. Right? It's maintaining the recollection and awareness during your practice of goodness. And so it's maintaining the Geshe, the awareness. Am I working on good deeds? And then secondly, the bringing your mind back to the good deeds, right? With the lasso. So this is what we call engaged effort. So now that you're practicing, right? Now you have to bring yourself back, which is just a kind of meditation. Bring yourself back to what's the right seeds to plant and avoiding the negative seeds. And then the last one, I couldn't find a good picture for this, but we call this self-command, power, Dakning Wangja, like the power of the self, right? And so you have self-command, you have power over yourself, power over your laziness, power over your negative emotions to get your body and mind to do virtuous activities. Right? To keep dragging when you're having the crappiest day, to drag yourself into a state of your body and mind that is focused on doing good things. Right? So all of those four things together, he calls them kind of the four forces, like armed forces. Like it's kind of the four things you do to protect and engage your negative emotions. The first one is you put on, like, imagine you're going to war, right? You're like, you're a warrior. Go to war. You put on your armor first, right? No one goes to war without their armor. Well, I mean, you could if you wanted to, I suppose. So you build the motivation to stay practicing. And then you just make those efforts, right? You just do good deeds. Well, when you're doing good deeds, you sometimes forget to do the good deeds. So you need to have your mind trained in such a way that it reminds you, oh, I should be doing this versus doing something else. And then you bring yourself back to it. And then finally, you get the power of self-command, where you can just do good things regardless of what's going on, regardless of what is happening around you. All right. And just in case you care, this comes from an example. He's comparing the ancient forces the armed forces in India to this. All right. And those four mainly are elephanteers, people riding big elephants, right? Charioteers, ones who, get on chariots, the cavalry on horses, and infantry, the forces on foot. Okay. You can think about it in the United States, we have 4 armed forces. Well, actually 5, if we want to call it one, a fifth one. You have, what do we have? We have the Army, right? We have the Navy, we have the Air Force, and then we have the Marines. Okay. And then we have also established the Space Force as well. I don't know about that one. It's an idea, I suppose. The weird thing it was a TV show. It was a TV show with Steve Carell. I don't know if anyone saw it. And then like a year later, they announced the actual division of our army. Anyway, so we're going to go protect space too, apparently. But the idea is that there's the 4 main forces that we use to protect ourselves. We protect our joyful effort. And it's not, it's all just a seed. It was really good, Z. All of it's just a seed. Whether you're having joyful effort or lacking joyful effort, they're just seeds that are ripening. Okay, so you don't feel good today. Okay. What are you going to do to change that longer term? And I understand that, we get into certain patterns and we also get into difficulties. And sometimes it's not easy just to say, oh, well, go plant the good seed. You have to have some compassion around it too. But if you're lacking in joy in your life, in the things you do, we only have a limited amount of time anyway. So how are you going to like grab yourself and pull you, right? How are you going to do that? And Shantideva is giving us this. And Shantideva is like, it feels like he understands. I always feel like his advices are more just like, he seems to so understand the human condition, and he understands all the things that we do that turn us away from using the logic of good seeds and getting stuck. And he says, well, someone, I just kind of imagine someone coming up to him and being like, great, thanks. I've been trying really hard to have some kind of spiritual success and I'm not getting it. And if everything you said about lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes is true, it seems like I'm not getting anywhere. I have these thoughts, right? And I have these fake arguments with Shantideva sometimes. With these, I'm like, oh, thanks, enlightened being. I'm glad you're there, but I don't feel that today. Right? Like that's what the devil mind does. It's like, oh, I don't feel like it today. But he says, well, how's this for an argument? And he says, a Buddha who can't even lie, that, beings like flies and worms and those little annoying bugs that, come out in the evening and like bite you, right? Those little, even all of them can achieve enlightenment if they make effort. So can you. Like, so there's this moment, like, when I read this, even before I took the class, I was like, I was in one of my special moods and I was like, great, thanks. If they can do it, I can do it. Wonderful. If those little bugs can do it, I can do it. Like, that's really not motivation, Shantideva. The worms out there can do it. I think I have a picture for you all. Put a picture together. Yeah, right. I decided to choose a butterfly coming out of a chrysalis, right? A worm that turned into a butterfly. You know, that's a little bit more inspiring to me. You know, how does that phrase go about like, I don't remember. It has something to do with becoming a butterfly. I don't know. It's usually inspirational and people tell it to you when you're feeling like crap. I can't remember what it is right now. But like the pain of being a worm doesn't understand what it becomes. I don't know. Something like that. But so, you know, so the idea is that anyone, all beings could become enlightened if they made the effort. You know, which is nice to think about, but it's like, what does he really mean by this? And so we're going to go on a trip today. This is my fun part of this class. You know, we go on a little diversion. How does this argument? I'm looking at my garden. You know, the bugs, like there's the flowers are coming out. The bugs are having a good time. The bees are there. You know, the worms in the dirt. You know, how does thinking about them being able to be enlightened give me any kind of motivation for myself when I'm having a crappy day? That's my question, Shantideva. How is, oh, I'm tired. Oh, my body hurts. Oh, that person was mean to me. I love the faces the translators make to imitate. You know, how does any of that have to do, like, how does that help me motivate myself? If they can do it, I can do it. We're going to go back on a little trip, I think back to ACI 4. Maybe it's ACI 4 we did this. You know, and we have to think about what is it that becomes a Buddha? What is it? So we're going on a little trip here, guys. We're going on a little logical trip. So just stick with it. So when Shantideva says, if a Buddha is a being who cannot lie, and the Buddha himself used in the sutra requested by Subahu, okay, I don't know who Subahu is, some student, you know, some student asked Lord Buddha a question. And if a Buddha can't lie, which is a definition of a Buddha, and the Buddha says, well, look, those little tiny annoying bugs and the worms, you know, they all can become Buddhas too. And so can you if you make the same effort, right? They can achieve enlightenment if they make some kind of effort, right? The worms are just sitting in the dirt, right? The gnats are just flying around like doing gnat things, right? If they had some kind of motivation or some kind of effort in mind, they could do it. So we have to go on a little trip here to understand what he was actually talking about. And so we oftentimes, there's a misunderstanding, and it's kind of a nice Dharma rumor. And somehow I keep hearing it. Frankly, I keep hearing it outside of, I hear it all the time. And it comes down to this idea of Buddha nature. Like, you have a Buddha nature. Everyone has a Buddha nature. This is what we hear. And so when people say you have a Buddha nature, you just need, basically what they're implying, and you hear it's like, you just need to uncover this part of yourself, right? You have some kind of obscuration, some kind of block to it. But if you were just to stop being so sad or stop being so selfish or something like that, this sort of light that's inside of you will just begin to shine and reveal itself, and then you will become a Buddha. Which isn't so far from the truth, but it's not what we actually mean when we say Buddha nature. And it's not unhelpful in my mind to start with that point of view. You have obstacles, I don't know, called you, called your seeds. And those obstacles have created a being who is not a Buddha. Right? Your seeds have created someone who's not. I mean, if you are who you look like you are. Okay. Right? Your seeds have created you as a being with some flesh, with a mind, with negative emotions. So if you were to be able to take away those obstacles, then you could be a Buddha too. That's kind of motivating. You have a part of you that's already enlightened. It's just so deep, far inside of you that you can't possibly see it. Just have to take off the human clothes, and then you will reveal the shining light that you are. Okay. And, I'm saying this kind of facetiously a little bit. And I think it's a useful thing to think that, we have Buddha in us already. But if we don't understand what that is and what it means, then you're really not going to be able to peel away this, you're not going to be able to peel away your skin. I want you no, don't do this. No, I'm not going to say it. Go find your Buddha nature. Where is it? Here we go. Let's start peeling off the skin, right? We got to peel off those muscles now. So peel off those muscles, right? Like, then you're like down to the bone. I'm like, well, okay, now I'm just a skeleton. Okay, well, let me rip open my chest, right? Where all my organs are, right? So that's like, it's kind of gross to think about it, right? Okay, well, it's not in my liver. It's not in my stomach. It's not in my lungs, right? Let's drain all the blood from your body, Tim. Shake it all out. Dribble, 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 right? Where's the Buddha nature? And okay, well, let's get in my heart. Let's open up my heart. Like, it's still beating, like Indiana Jones. Boom, boom, boom. They pull the heart out of the guy, right? Where is it? Just cut up all your flesh and bones, Tim. Where is it? Where's that Buddha nature? Where's that shining light? It had to have been there somewhere. Oh, it's just a metaphor. Shut up. But those are the, when you get to the logical conclusion of some of these ideas, it's not, you're like, okay, well, find me that shining, enlightened light inside of me. Oh, it's in your mind, Rosalia. Okay, I'm going to take off the cap of your head. Right? I'm going to take off the cap of your head, and now we just have your brain. Let's like cut up your brain. Let's find that shining light inside. Right? You know, and that's where that argument goes. But it's not a bad thing. It's just not how it, looks. And it's not how it really looks. So there's basically two types of, we'll call it Buddha nature. Okay. And part of the definition, if you remember, of a Buddha is the one who became a Buddha, right? If you remember, the one who turned into a Buddha. So one who became that. And there's two types of, there's two types of that. There's like what we call like the innate Buddha nature. And the Buddha nature that requires development. And we actually had a long, if anyone remembers, oh God, this was 6 months ago, we had a big, long debate and mixed nuts about this. So the main thing here, the first one, that the innate part of us, the one that where people say your Buddha nature, that's already part of you. And we call that the essence body. We'll call that the Dharma body. Okay. And then the second part of it is the part that requires development would be the actual mind and body of a Buddha. Okay. She's talking. I'm sorry. So there's two parts of a Buddha nature. The part of a Buddha. One is the part that requires development, and the part that is innate, the part that you already have. The essence. The essence of the part that creates the essence body of a Buddha. And so he uses this example, and I couldn't find a really good picture for it. But the example that he uses is the emptiness of the mind of an old dog. All right. And the idea is that the emptiness of the mind of a dog, the emptiness of the mind of a worm, the emptiness of a mind of a gnat or a fly, and even an emptiness of your own mind is kind of what we call this sort of innate Buddha nature. And then an example of, the part that turns into the mind and the physical body of the Buddha would be a seed for the totally pure state of mind in the mental continuum of the dog itself. Okay, it's kind of a weird thing. One would be the emptiness of the mind. And the part that turns into the Buddha would be the seed for that perfect state of mind within the mind of the dog. Okay. So one is the emptiness and one is something that requires development. The dog is not enlightened. The dog doesn't see themselves as enlightened, but they have two types of Buddha nature. One is the emptiness of that mind. And the second would be the seed in that mind that could ripen into a pure state of mind, a pure mind of a Buddha. And that seed requires development. It needs to grow. It needs to flourish. And whereas the emptiness is something that the mind already has. Okay, so I'm going to say it again, just so we have a, so we have sort of an idea here. One is there's two types of Buddha nature. One would be the plain old emptiness of your mind. The emptiness of your mind. The fact that there's no mind that's not coming from how you treated people in the past. And then there's the seed in that mind, which needs to grow. I have the debate forming in my head. We're going to get there in a second. Right? So one is the emptiness side of it, and the other of it is the seed side of it, the dependent origination side of it. The emptiness side of it is the lack of something not coming from how you treated others in the past. And the second part are the seeds that you have to create that mind and body of a Buddha. And those seeds themselves have to grow. And so when we talk about this emptiness, the thing that has emptiness, this innate Buddha, this innate Buddha nature, excuse me, the emptiness of your mind is the same emptiness. Laura, yes, that's part of the debate. The emptiness of that your own mind has is the same emptiness that the mind of a Buddha has. Okay. The emptiness that your mind has is the same that a Buddha's mind has, but the emptiness that you have is not creating a Buddha mind. Okay, I'll say that again. The emptiness that your mind has, the blankness, the potential, is the same potential that a Buddha's mind has. It's just that the Buddha then has the extraordinary karma to see their mind as an omniscient mind. All right. They can see, they have the karma to see, to have their mind arise in such a way that it is an omniscient mind. You and me have the karma to see a mind that's not omniscient. Both have emptiness. And that's why your mind could become a Buddha's mind. Just different seeds. So that's the reason you have a Buddha nature, an innate Buddha nature. And then you have to develop the seeds for that mind to perceive itself in a way that is omniscient. Right. Sandra asked a good question. I'm going to address it because I answered it the other day. The student had a question for me. You know, how can I get the seeds to change my seeds? Right? You know, how can I get the seeds to see? Like, it's not like, and the thing is, it's not like you have the seed of enlightenment inside of you in the sense of having that karma if you've never had it before. Right? How do I get How do I get that initial seed is what's asking. What's that first seed? How do I get the seed to understand enough to have the capacity to plant the seeds to become an enlightened being? Right? Because if we're not enlightened already and seeds grow, why haven't we become enlightened yet? All seeds grow eventually. How do you get that first one? So I'm going to tell a little story. So I had someone come talk to me the other day. And they were having some deep difficulties because they had realized that all of their work in the Dharma was based in some kind of pride. That, yeah, they were helping people, they were doing all these things, but they realized that their motivation was in support of their own ego. It was in support of making themselves better. Like, oh, I'm going to be the best servant of the Dharma. I'm going to be the person who works the hardest. I'm going to be the person who, shines and becomes a Buddha, which is all good motivation. But they realized that they were just doing it out of their own pride. Like their pride was in their way. Their ego was in their way. They were doing it to feel better about themselves. It wasn't really about serving others. It was about feeling important. And they got to a place where they realized all this and had a little bit of a meltdown. And we're like, did I just use my Buddhism to create more afflictions? The thing that was supposed to serve other people was only serving me. I listened for quite a while. And I could see they were extremely distressed about the whole thing. And the logic was pretty good. Like this person's logic was pretty good, right? And I just thought about it and I thought, well, yeah, of course. And she was like, what? And I said, of course you were serving yourself. Of course you were trying to be happy. Of course you were trying to feel important. It couldn't have been any other way. And she was like, compute, this doesn't compute. You're telling me serving my ego and my self-cherishing was good? And I'm like, yeah. But aren't we supposed to get rid of our self-cherishing? And I said, how do you expect to get rid of your self-cherishing by not using your self-cherishing in a way to destroy it? I'll say it again. If we're already in a pattern of misunderstanding, I'll say it differently. If we're already in a pattern of misunderstanding, this is the same question. How do we create wisdom from misunderstanding? If we've always already had misunderstanding, how do we get a seed for wisdom? How do we get that first seed? That's the question. Angelica has this question all the time. Where did that first seed come from? And so we have to use this, we have to use the tools that we have to turn it around. We have to use samsara against itself. We have to use self-cherishing against itself. And so the main slightly logical fallacy reason I'm going to give right now, okay, is that the truth is always greater than a lie. So if an enlightened being came here and was like, how do I teach these idiots? Right? They're not saying that because they have lots of love. But how do I teach these idiots how to do this? Right? And so the Buddha devised methods to use the things that we already do against themselves to create seeds of wisdom. So it breaks down. If you put enough stress on the system, it'll eventually break down if it's not true. All evil governments eventually fall because they don't take care of other people. They only take care of themselves. All right. So just be patient. Change your seeds. Be patient. They all have. They all will. But turning samsara against itself is what we're doing. So when this person realized, oh man, I've mainly been selfish and just in service of my own ego and just trying to be important and being a good person. But then I realized all the things I was doing just for me. And I was like, yes, you did. But that also planted seeds unbeknownst to you to break that cycle. You didn't know you were doing it. You couldn't have known you were doing it. But the pieces they put enough stress in the system, eventually the other seeds, like the wisdom has to pop through. Because the truth is greater than the lie. And so a lot of our practices and a lot of things we do are designed to, I've seen it happen. My teachers do it all the time. Pump up your ego. Put air in that balloon, right? Doing a good job. Oh, just keep going. You're so important. You can lead this organization. And everyone's like, oh my God, that person is so selfish. And then the teacher's like, keep going, because they're doing great things. They're also stressing their ego, and eventually that will break. Right. And I told this student, I said, you're in a wonderful place now. You now know where you have a clearer idea of where you can go. Now you have a lot more potential. You have a lot more potential now. But you had to go through a little bit of mud to get there. And this isn't someone that really, it was great because this isn't someone who really needed a lot of, airtime. Get it? Airtime. Airtime is also the time on the television. They didn't need a whole lot of praise, right? They kind of did it themselves, which was really cool. But we all have our unique ways of, building our own egos. And our Lama will do that to us. My Lama does that to me all the time. And then ask me to do things my ego says, no, I can't do that. Right? And bit by bit, you begin to understand that you are coming from seeds. You and the you that you thought was there, that's feeling all crappy today, sitting on the couch, is coming from seeds. Oh my God, I've just been in service of my self-cherishing for 10 years. Yep. Good job. Like, and then they pet you, right? Good job. Right? Maybe they give you a little belly scratch. Good job. And that's good. And it puts you in a really great place. So no, you were planting some negative seeds, but you're planting so many good seeds. Yes, you are a karmic object too. That's a good t-shirt, Anastasia. I am a karmic object too. I like that. So in that way, we all have a potential. And if you're able to hear that you have an empty mind, which could perceive itself as the mind of a gnat or a mind of a cat or a mind of a human or the mind of a Buddha, it should be inspiring. Okay, it should be inspiring in some way. Because they're all just perceptions. And they're perceptions forced upon us by how we treated each other in the past. And if we try a little bit, maybe someday we'll be able to break the chains of the lie of how we perceive the world. And actually see it directly. And then everything's kind of cool after that. And so Shantideva goes a little bit further here. And he says that, the big sacrifice, oftentimes, the great efforts it takes to have these realizations, they feel like great efforts. They feel like I'm having to work really hard there, and then I still have my samsaric life that I have to, right? I still have my samsaric life I have to do. Now I have to do all these other things too. Are you crazy? Right? I have to work hard here and work hard at my self-existent stuff. And sometimes it feels daunting, and he says, it's kind of unreasonable. And what he says is the bit of effort, which feels like a lot of effort to do these things, pales in comparison to all of the other suffering and efforts we've made to not reach enlightenment and lifetimes. And it's kind of intense. He talks about, like, we've spent infinite eons in the hell realms. We have had our arms and legs cut. We have been burned. We've been split in half. We've been choked. We've been, basically tortured. And all the things we did in those times had no benefit at all for enlightenment. So if we have this opportunity now to make these efforts, those seeds can ripen extremely quickly. And it's a thing where you don't believe it until you start seeing it. But the efforts one makes as a bodhisattva, as a warrior bodhisattva, those seeds can ripen incredibly quickly and put us on a very different track very quickly and change the course of our development, Buddha nature development, very fast. And then there's this kind of side discussion that comes up in the text. And oftentimes we've heard in the sutras about people who, we did this in Kyoto, I don't know, 2 years ago, where we talked about Sri Sena. We talked about King Sri Sena, who gave away half of his body to somebody else, cut up half of his body. That sounds like a pretty intense thing to do. I'm sorry, I don't think I could give up an arm right now. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could pull out my eyeball and give it to somebody else. Although I hope to meet a bodhisattva who would just replace these eyeballs, right? Not asking for your eyeballs. Not what I'm saying, right? But Shantideva says, would it cause us a lot of pain? To make these kind of sacrifices. And I think there's a part of us, at least it's in me, and I agree with Shantideva, is that it seems like the pain of making those sacrifices is great. Like undergoing a physical surgery. I was hanging out with a friend last night who had major surgery a month ago. Broken hip, broken leg, metal in the leg, can't walk very well, lots of pain. Terrible surgery, hurts like hell. And Shantideva says, that our resistance to doing good things is because we have that same kind of fear of pain. And frankly, how do I say this? The fear that we have is because we've experienced those kind of pains over and over again throughout the many iterations of our lifetimes. So we actually fear it anyway, regardless of whether we're doing good or bad deeds. And so we tend to choose things that bring us a temporary pleasure, something in the short term, because it feels like a sacrifice to not engage those old habits. Oh, but they feel good. Short term. And then he says something really sweet. And he says, look, the method of the Buddhas are actually, he said, ultimately quite gentle. Which it sounds really sweet. You know, and the teachers I've had are actually quite gentle with me. Yeah, they have moments where they're like, right, cut it out, Tim, stop it. Right. But generally, it's quite gentle. Oh, you don't want to do that today? It's okay, Tim. It's actually for your benefit, but it's okay. We'll try again tomorrow. You know. But as you get further along, that sacrifices that seem like ridiculous sacrifices, like even giving away your arm or your leg or your eyeball, you know, become things that are very easy. Like for Sri Sena was a very easy thing to do because somebody needed it, because he understood really well what's going on. But don't cut off your hand and leg or take out your eyeball. Most of us are not ready for this kind of service. You know, they say at a certain level you can. I'm sorry, I'm not there. I still want my eyes and I want my legs and my arms. Right. But at a certain point, those things no longer become sacrifices. And I can say from my own experience, where I haven't gotten there with my physical body, but when it comes to like being generous with my things, it doesn't feel like a sacrifice anymore. Oh, you need that? Here you go. You need that? Here you go. To a certain extent. I don't think I could give away my car. You know, that's too self-existent. Right. And Shantideva says, right, you know, you start, it's actually a bad seed to give away something that you're not ready to give away. With practice, those things come in time. But he says we're prohibited from undergoing hardships for things that we're not ready for. And that also includes certain practices. You may have heard of practices. You may have heard of things to do. You may have taken things a little bit too extreme, right? Here's the other side of it. Mainly, this class is about trying to inspire you to have some kind of joyful effort. That's one extreme, not having it. The other extreme is a person that goes to the extreme and does insane practices, spends hours and hours and hours a day doing things that hurt their body and mind. So we're not allowed to go to that extreme either. Just do plain old good seeds for other people. Then the rest will come. You don't have to make extraordinarily sacrificial efforts. It's just plain old good seeds, plain old good deeds for other people. Go over to someone's house who broke their leg, make them dinner, listen to them be a little upset, thinking that their life is never going to be good again. Understand, you know, supporting them emotionally, and then go home and go to bed. That's a really good bodhisattvic deed. You didn't have to do anything crazy to do it. And the seeds in there are powerful. Right? And he says, we'll just read this out loud then. He said, when you can't give your arm, you give a cucumber. Okay. Sandra, can you read this?
Me?
Yes.
Yes. The guide, do you hear me? Yes, right?
See?
The guide has sent us at the beginning to do our acts of giving with vegetables and the like. Sorry, I can see it very good. Just a second. When we've become accustomed to that, then later on, we'll gradually be able to give away even our flesh.
Correct. Right. So Shantideva says, if you can't give away your arm, give away a cucumber. How about an asparagus or a broccoli? You know, go buy an apple, right? And it's really a beautiful thing, you know, and I think it's, you know, as bodhisattvas, we think that we have to do the extraordinary because it feels like an extraordinary thing to go from, you know, this sort of suffering way of life into a life that's free of all of that for the benefit of others. And we think we have to try really hard. And to be honest, you don't have to try that hard. Don't make trying hard an affliction. Because if you don't have the joyful effort in it, then you're really not planting the right seeds anyway. Find a vegetable, find a cucumber, find someone who needs a little bit of extra help. Find your own personal cucumber, right? You know, now what's going to happen is everyone's going to be like, oh, Tim likes cucumbers, or, oh, I have to give away cucumbers. And now there won't be any cucumbers in the store because everyone will have cucumbers in the refrigerator. That's actually a good thing to do. Go buy all the cucumbers and no one has cucumbers. And then you can say, oh, I can give these all away to you. It happened in COVID. For some reason, everyone bought all the toilet paper. Like somehow because we had a, you know, some sickness going around, we couldn't make toilet paper anymore. So I bought extra toilet paper and I gave it away to people who, you know, there was a day when I was there and they had got a shipment of, you know, toilet paper. Right? It was this funny thing. Right? Give away the things that people to, you know, don't have to make grand efforts. Don't have a lot of money? That's okay. Just give away a cucumber. They're $1. Maybe they're, you know, cheaper than that. You know, so I mean, Shantideva is saying, like, you could give away your eyeball, but I need my eyeball, thank you. For now. So then find something easier that someone needs, because the seeds will grow. And understanding that you have a potential. You have a deep potential to be someone who has incredible capacity to serve. Right? Just start with cucumbers. All right. And then enjoy it. It's fun to be a bodhisattva that way. Like I carry things around in my bag because I know someone will eventually need it. I tell this story often. I was at Diamond Mountain and a woman came up to me, very embarrassed. And it's like, it's like she needed something. And I'm like, what's going on? And she was like, do you have a tampon? And I'm like, no, I don't. Because I don't think about those things. And I was like, I think we have them here somewhere. right? And I found the director and I said, someone needs a tampon. She's like, oh, I got them, right? She has them, right? So she ran and grabbed one. Then I was like, I've never thought about buying tampons. Like, that's a thing. I don't have to think about that. I just don't. But if you ever need one, I have one in my bag. Okay. Just come up and ask for it. All right. If something happens and you're like, you forgot, or, your period starts early, the full moon was weird this month, I don't know, whatever. And you're at Diamond Mountain unprepared. I'm prepared. Okay. It's like enjoyable. It brings me a lot of joy. Right. Like 50% of the people that I know need that. Why should I ignore that? Right. I never thought about it. It was a lot of fun. I'm sorry if it's not the exact kind that you need or brand or size, all of those things. I don't have every single option. Okay. But I'm trying, right? And as a bodhisattva, that can be joyful. Geshe Michael has the magic backpack. It's like his backpack weighs 100 pounds. What's in there? What's in that bag? It's just his bodhisattva bag. Right. He has things that people need. So what can you provide to others? That's the main thing. What can you provide to others? What will make their life just a little bit easier? I also carry headache medicine if anyone ever needs it. So taking joy in those little things. Right? Taking joy in those little things for other people. Yay, we have about 5 minutes, 7 minutes. Any questions? You're like, what? We have to you got some, yeah. I can answer some questions for 5 minutes. Seriously? Okay, here's another thing you should do as a bodhisattva. Get your phone and put questions you have for your teacher, because you never know when you're going to be allowed to ask for them. Don't be shy. All right, since you're not asking questions, I'm going to ask a question. We have a couple of things. We always have needs for volunteers in ACI. All right. You want to fill up your bag full of bodhisattva warrior activities? I'll give you a bag of things you can choose from. Okay. So coming up, we have teacher training 7 very, very soon. It's going to be on the bodhisattva vows. Right. And it's going to be a deep, deep course on how to teach them. We just designed this curriculum a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, and it's very, very powerful. It's going to be a new way that we're going to be teaching teacher trainings, and we need help with that course. So if you would like to help us, let's see. Why aren't Ali, can you turn on your, and Natalia, because Natalia is not here. You reach out to Ale and she can give you a job, even if it's a small one. We also have a big, if you guys aren't going to put questions in there, I'm just going to recruit volunteers. So this is your own fault. This is your own fault that now you're going to have to do work for Tim. since you didn't ask any questions. We also have a big program that's starting for the next 6 years on Geshe Michael is going to be recording meditations here in Sedona. So if you're not here, you're missing them. But we're recording them for the Lamrim itself. 100 meditations. And each month, if you're part of our ACI club and donate on a monthly basis to ACI, you will then get access to those videos early. It's our little manipulative hook to say, ACI, it costs us a lot of money to run this organization. We do classes like this all day long. Every day we have something going on. And it costs us money. So we have a fundraiser. And if you join on a monthly basis, then you will get a video on a monthly basis, a new video from Geshe Michael, deep meditations. But we also need help producing that. You know, we need that. There's so much that goes into the actual production of these videos. You know, it's extraordinary how much work goes into everything we do. Like just in this class, the number of translators and interpreters and people who are doing things for free for the organization because they believe in it. It's amazing. It's incredible. Right? It's an honor to have that. We wouldn't have it without you. So those are really two big things that you can get involved with. If you're a fluent English speaker, we need writers. We need people to write. We have so much we have to write because then it has to go into all the different languages. So if you're interested in helping us with that, please, please, please reach out to us. Oh, that's a beautiful question. So I'll answer this one question. Ooh, Z, are you? Great. Write me a message. We need writers. So Christian asked an interesting question. You know, looks like someone has a habit. The Christian asked the question, how do we, if you're having a difficult time stopping your bad habits, like drinking or smoking, right? How can you do that and remain joyful? Right? Look, we all have bad habits. We all do. We all have bad habits. You know, and some of those bad habits, you know, suck and zap our energy. But I think it's the effort to stop those things that can bring about joy. Now, it doesn't look like that. You know, if you live a life where it's based around bad habits of like drinking and smoking and hanging out and doing parties and things like that in an unmindful way, and then you stop that, then you have no friends anymore. Right? I think a lot of us go through this. Like our social life was based on those things, and all of a sudden they stop, and then we have no friends. I think it's the efforts to do good deeds that creates the joy in it. The joy may not be in the beginning, but the joy will naturally arise. Making the effort to do good things plants a seed for joy to arise. And so by understanding that and then doing your coffee meditations, just making the efforts will then create joy. And that's part of the idea of turning samsara onto itself. And we'll explore that a little bit. And we can talk a little bit more about that when I'm in Romania, Christian, in July. Cool. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Oh, last thing. We have a giveaway contest for the Angel Devil. And the winner of this contest will get a plane ticket and a hotel and food, most of the food covered, to come to Mexico at the end of July for our Lamrim event, for our Angel Devil event. We have a contest. So far, we've only had one person sign up, and they didn't even follow the instructions. So they can't win. So mainly the idea is we want you to submit 1-minute videos of how the Angel and Devil program is relevant to your day-to-day life. So watch the original, the one we did last month. We have another one coming up in a week. I think is June 11th or something. Watch that. And if you would like to enter to win a ticket to Mexico City, you have to submit a video. All right. And it's it's an open contest, but it's mainly for our existing students. We hope people would want to win a prize like this. And if you don't want to win a prize like this, we won't do it again. So sorry. But head to that website, Natalia put it up. If you're interested, all you need to do is watch one video of Angel Devil and just submit like a short video of yourself talking about it. Be a little bold. Don't worry about being shy. Okay. There it is. If you come to that, watch the class, record a short video, send it to us, and we will choose a winner for someone to come to Mexico. The visas are pretty easy to get. It's not like coming to the United States. All right, cool. Have a good day, everybody. Wonderful to see everyone once again. Let's take a short break. If you're sticking around, come back for Lamrim. We're going to do some meditating today. So let's say goodbye to each other, and I will see you in about a half hour.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Tim. Thank you again. Take care.
Bye. Thank
Muchas
you.
gracias.
Gracias, Tim.
Thank you, Timna. See you.
Thank you.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Te esperamos en Colombia.
Que me inviten.
Grazie mille, maestro Tim. Speriamo in Italia un domani.
Mulțumim, Tim. Ciao.
Спасибо, дорогой Tim. Buona giornata.